It's a common sense recap of the big stories. It's Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC.
And joining us now here live on Katz and Cosby is Congressman Andy Ogles from the great state of Tennessee. And also we have with us as well Sheriff David Schmidt. He is with Dodge County, which of course is a county a little bit north of here. He's also with the Wisconsin Badger State Sheriff's Association. So great to have both of you here. We also have back with us in studio our tremendous panel with former Congressman Peter King, Judge Richard Weinberg, and former New York Governor David Patterson. Congressman Ogles, your reaction, first of all, that finally Secret Service protections given to RFK Jr. It seems like there were so many breakdowns of what happened over the weekend. And thank goodness President Trump, who we're waiting to speak at any moment, thank goodness he's okay.
Well, you go back to Saturday in the shooting. There's been a clear lack of leadership within that agency, a storied agency that's been protecting presidents for decades and decades, right? But on Saturday, they failed. And, Kennedy has asked repeated times for good reason to have protection for himself, and it should have been granted. But Joe Biden is a bit of a prick. He is unwilling to be the better man. And quite frankly, the Democrat Party knows they can't win with Joe Biden. That's why they're in panic mode. And when you look across the nation, just hypothetically, or not hypothetically, but for example, New Jersey, Donald Trump's in New Jersey, has 107,000 people show up. And then on Saturday when he was shot, obviously the Secret Service took him to the ground, but he stood up. He raised his hand. He made a fist to show the American people that he wasn't going to quit. That even though they're trying to kill him, that he wasn't going to stop fighting. And that's leadership. You look at Joe Biden, who gets lost in the Rose Garden. He has to be helped off of a stage. He barely can put two sentences together. And Joe Biden pales in comparison to Donald Trump, who was shot, stood up and looked at the American people in the eye and said, "I'm your leader. I'm your next president, and I'm going to fight for you."
That was an incredible moment, Congressman, to see that first of all, and he knew enough also to duck behind, of course, that bulletproof glass. We know that it was right there in front of him. And the fact that he got up, it was almost, I use that symbolism. I had tears in my eyes when I saw his fist bump up. I thought it almost symbolized the coming back of America. Like, you cannot because I felt like it was not just an attack on President Trump. It's an attack on American democracy.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there are moments in history, you think about 9/11, when, the American people, we were shocked. The world was shocked. And on Saturday, I was shocked. You were shocked. The American people were shocked. But it also showed a vulnerability that's got to be corrected, that the Secret Service is not up to the task. And look, I'm not picking on anybody, but, President Trump's not a small man. He's 6'5". He's a large frame guy. And the fact that you have some individuals that are part of his detail that can't be any taller than 5'6", right? They're not big enough to protect the president.
Was the Secret Service too caught up in DEI? And in fact, the head of the Secret Service, her last job was security for Pepsi. I'm sorry, but I am, and obviously as a woman, I love seeing a woman out there protecting other people, but I want the best person protecting our former president and potentially our future president. I'm sorry.
Well, she even stated that she intends to bring diversity to the agency. It's not about, look, I might identify as an NFL football player, but you know what? At 5'11" and 175 pounds, I'm not going to be snapping the ball. You know why? Because I'm not big enough, right? And you have a former president who's 6'5", probably 280, 320 pounds. He's a big man.
Could you be a kicker? You could be a kicker, right?
But that being said, and so this idea that you're going to have people that, and again, he stood up. And they're trying to move him, and he stopped. He planted his feet, and that detail was not big enough, was not strong enough to move him. He paused, and they had to pause with him. Look, the sheriff here, he's a big fella. And if he's part of, say, my detail, he's going to have other big fellas, or ladies for that matter, with him. And when they need to move me as their dignitary, they're going to grab me, and they're going to move me. At that point, the Secret Service, their job is to protect the individual, right? And it doesn't matter that you want to get your shoes. It doesn't matter that you want to grab your wife. It doesn't matter that you want to pick up your watch. They are going to move you because they have a job to do. And the Secret Service failed the American people when they left that rooftop wide open. Look, how does some idiot 20-year-old kid with no military training get on top of a roof in 130 yards? Where was the drone? Where was the drone? That's all it would have taken.
Absolutely. And Sheriff, I have to ask your question as a security expert. You hit on some great points, Congressman, because all I kept thinking about, I have been at so many of these White House events. There is the rooftop. It is right there as the Congressman is describing. Here we are at the RNC. I mean, it's incredible. It's unfathomable to me that the Secret Service didn't do an advance of that area, didn't surveil the area. There's all this finger pointing today, and we're finding out that that guy, the kid, as the Congressman just so aptly described, 20-year-old kid, he bought 50 rounds earlier, a few hours earlier. He was doing a little bit of sharpshooting through his military club, but just to your point, crawling around for minutes. Do some heads need to roll? Do we need to see the head of the Secret Service and whoever was in charge of that advance team? I love law enforcement, but I am angry today, as every American should be.
First of all, I hate to correct you. I'm going to correct you on my name. It's Sheriff Dale Schmidt, not David. We'll start there.
Forgive me then. All right,
okay.
all right. You're a big guy. I don't want to. The Congressman and I don't want to make you mad here at the RNC.
If Congressman's in any harm's way, I'm going to pick you up and move you. You're not going to stop me. You're not planting your feet. We're going to go.
Thank you, Sheriff.
But great questions. And first of all, I don't want to take anything away from the Secret Service staff that was on the ground. Even if they're a small frame and they're standing up there, putting their hands up, getting in the way, willing to take a bullet for our next president. I'm very proud of the work they did. But on the other hand, we do have some serious flaws in planning at the beginning. We need to have somebody who's standing out there saying, where are vulnerabilities? And if I'm standing there at the podium, I'm looking around and I'm saying, that's a rooftop. We need to have somebody on that rooftop. That's the question I have. Not necessarily is there a drone in the air, but there's a rooftop that's in range of, I could make that shot easily. Why do we not have somebody sitting on top of that rooftop? Is it because they didn't have enough resources? If that's a problem, then that needs to be addressed. I guarantee you the Secret Service won't make that mistake again. But if the president ever comes to my county, if the Secret Service is not covering a rooftop like that, my team is going to be there. I don't understand how, if Secret Service wasn't there, why we don't have local law enforcement on that rooftop.
And by the way, there was a lot of finger pointing today because state police said, no, listen, Pennsylvania, it wasn't ours. We were hoping Secret Service is in charge. The local police, there seems to be all this finger pointing. At the end of the day, I do believe, as you do, as you're just saying, Secret Service should have looked at that. When they sent that advance team, line of sight, when you see if that roof is right there in the area, that is catastrophic. What do you think should happen, Sheriff?
Somebody has to answer for that, and I'm not saying necessarily has to be somebody at the top, but whoever is making that plan, there has to be some accountability there. And I'm sure the FBI will get to the bottom of who made that plan and why they made that plan and why they didn't cover that. To me, this comes down to, do we have an inadequate allocation of Secret Service resources to this type of an event? I mean, you have somebody who is traveling the country at rally after rally after rally. This is not the first time they've done this. They did this over and over and over again in each of the last two presidential elections. They should know this should be down to a science by this point, and I can't believe somebody with the volatility, the hatred that's come at our former president. I just cannot believe that you would not have this down to a science that I'm going to have enough there to protect the president. That just doesn't make any sense to me.
Absolutely. Congressman, we just have about 15 seconds left. Your final thoughts.
Well, I just agree with the sheriff. I mean, look, even if the Secret Service had delegated that to the state police or delegated that to local law enforcement, at the end of the day, they are charged with protecting the president. They've got to dot the I's. They've got to cross the T's. They've got to go back and double check that all of those gaps are covered, even if it's not their personality. They are the supervisors on the ground. It's their responsibility. And if the president had been killed, they would have been the ones responsible. But like you said, they are finger pointing because they're trying to cover their own what's right now. Yeah, wow. Well, both of you guys, thank you for joining us here live at the Republican National Convention. Thank goodness President Trump is okay. We should be hearing from him momentarily. This is an incredible moment to be here at the RNC. It's an honor to be with both of you guys. Thank you for joining us live here on Cats and Cosby. Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you.